Hey, Shad here with Speed Addicts, the fastest growing gear site on the web. Today we're going to uncrate the EBC Vee Rotor series. Hey, Speed Addicts fan, before we get into these V series rotors, do us a favor, do you a favor, subscribe to the Speed Addicts channel. You knew I was going to ask, it only takes a click. Then you're going to continue to get educated on all sorts of parts and gear from speedaddicts.com. Also, if you'd like to support us here, you could do so by simply shopping with us. There will be a link in the description below. They'll get you over to the complete selection of EBC rotors. They've got brake pads, and everything from EBC is available at speedaddicts.com and has been for about 2 decades since we opened our doors. So if you're not familiar with EBC rotors, you should be, because they're our choice for aftermarket braking components in most situations. I've personally been using EBC rotors for many decades now, and I can personally attest to them being excellent brake pads and rotors in this case. So EBC is founded in the UK, so this is a British company, and most of their rotors are still made there. They do have a plant in the United States that makes a lot of their, I think they call it their friction factory. That's clever. It makes most of the brake pads, and then most of the rotors are still made in jolly old England. And that's a good thing because the quality is at a very high bar. The price, while not inexpensive, it's not exotic, so price is manageable here. And they have a name that you can trust. So when it comes to brakes, yes, you can spend less on inferior brakes. Absolutely. Do I recommend that? Absolutely not. So what do we have here? EBC has a number of different brake rotor options for both street and dirt. The V series is actually available for both street and dirt. So we're going to do them both in the same video here. On my left, you see a standard fixed rotor. And on my right, you see a floating rotor. The difference is the floating rotor is a 2-piece system using a series of these rivets, or as they call them over at headquarters in the UK, they call them bobbins, I think. Sounds cool. Okay, so the 2-piece system is typically a street application with heavier machines, higher speeds. Separating the actual disc from the hub is going to control the vibration and all the stuff that you don't want to be transferred up to your controls, okay? So it's a more expensive, like a significantly more expensive rotor or braking system in this case that's not required in most dirt applications. So rear of your ATV, side-by-sides, dirt bikes, you're gonna see something like this. Now street bikes typically use a combination. They have a floating rotor in the front, and then they'll have a fixed rotor in the rear because there's a lot less forces going through the rear of a motorcycle. So let's look at this fixed rotor first. What they share in common here is that they're both made of premium German mill-rolled steel. So while EBC's in the UK, they do tap their buddies over in Deutschland for the steel. Germany has the reputation for the excellent product in that case. So they bring over the steel from Germany. It is tempered to handle the heat, and it's while you can use it with any brake pads, it works great with the EBC brake pads, which is what I recommend here. Now, you'll notice this is not just a standard spherical edge here. They have these V's cut into the edge of the disc, and what that's doing is it's reducing surface area, which allows the pad and caliper to exert even more pressure on the remaining material, which is kind of counterintuitive. You think more surface area would be a better thing, but actually if you want to put the maximum pressure on the pad and have more stopping power, having this V pattern cut into it or some other contour rotor is actually going to allow you to stop faster. It's also going to reduce weight, and when it comes to weight reduction, there's quite a bit of material missing, especially on this larger floating example. You can also put these on some supermoto applications, like on my KTM EXC 500. I've got a supermoto setup, and usually that requires, the floating rotor will come with a caliper relocating bracket, and then you can run the uber large street style floating rotor on your enduro bike or your dual sport bike, I guess. And in that case, a supermoto bike. Anyway, you see how much material is missing. When you add all this up, this is lots of grams of unsprung weight, which is the holy grail of going faster. The more weight you can remove that's outside of your suspension system, that's part of the wheel, the hub, the spokes, the braking system, all that sort of stuff that is spinning. If you can reduce weight there by grams, it is a big deal. It is drilled and slotted, which also helps with cooling and weight reduction. Then when we work with the EBC bobbins on a floating example like this, what you can't see here is their square drive system. So while this looks like a round rivet here, inside the edges are squared off. And what that does is it allows the rotor to heat up and expand in both directions. So the disc is going to get bigger on both sides. And with this square drive, it helps allow enough space for that to happen without the rotor contacting the hub, because when that happens, the disc will warp and cause big problems for you, okay? So that's a proprietary EBC technology. The square drive is something they tout. It also allows them to run, in most cases, 6 rivets instead of 8 or 10 like a lot of their competitors. That also can add up to even a few hundred grams on a bigger disc. So saving that weight is an awesome thing, and something that you're going to see not only on the V series from EBC, but also on their other floating rotors. The hub is aluminum in this case, which is usually what they use with sport bikes or, supermoto rotors, things like that. If they're going to have a floating Harley rotor, however, and we have a separate video on those, they're going to use steel there. They're going to use stainless there because the bike is so much heavier, the aluminum can't hold up. But this is what I have for my supermoto, my sport bikes over the years. I've gone with the aluminum floating hub. And the cool thing about the V rotors is they have different colors. This is anodized and coated. It holds up really well, and they have several different color options in the EBC Vee rotor. And for front and rear of dirt bikes, side-by-sides, they also make the V series in this fixed rotor. 6-month warranty from EBC on their rotors, all available at speedaddicts.com. If you have a question about which rotor is right for you, V series, standard contour series, MD series, there's a lot to choose from EBC. Talk to a rider support team. They'll help you identify what's available for your machine and what might be right for your needs. They're available over the phone, email, or live chat. That's it for today. We'll see you next time to find out what's in the crate.